I hear that you're probably the most successful at the moment of reviving centre-right sentiments at the branch level. Is it hard work, Alex?
Yeah, look, I think it is. I mean, I think this is a problem across the community generally. It's not just a problem reflected in politics, but people being involved in community groups of all sorts has clearly dropped off in the last 30 years. We see less people involved in, Rotary and, their local community groups and all those sorts of things. So getting people to understand the importance of being involved in politics, and it is critical, by the way, Fred. I mean, we know that. You've got to get people involved in the process so that there's more for them to do than just turn up at an election. We hear people all the time. I hear Conservatives all the time whinging about the state of politics. And my first response to them is, are you a member of the party? And if you're not, why not? And, that at least gives you an opportunity to put your voice into it and policy discussions. So, look, I think getting people engaged in any community activities is hard work at the moment, but it shouldn't be. Putting some fun back into it, getting interesting people to talk about things they're interested in as well is the critical thing here. I mean, this is a problem that's endemic in politics at the moment. You go into Parliament House in Canberra any day of the week, all you hear about is Federal ICAC, the voice to Parliament, and half a dozen other things that people in the real world are not interested in. We've got to start talking to them about the things they are interested in, and that's what we're doing here, trying to reflect things that they're really passionate about, like what our kids are being taught in schools, their worries about vaccine mandates, whatever it might be, and bring that back. And I think if you're bringing topics, if you're asking people what they're interested in and to talk about that, rather than just shouting at them about your committee that you've sat on, I think that goes a long way to getting people back involved.
I think the source of some of the tension on the weekend was that the party, whether they like it or not, is indelibly associated with the lockdowns, especially because Scott Morrison seemed so central to it. Do you think at some point the party needs to acknowledge that it got it wrong during the pandemic?
Well, I mean, look, I think across all levels, we need to hear some mea culpas that have come out of the pandemic era. I mean, that doesn't just apply to politics. It applies to, I think the bureaucracy and aspects of the medical profession that have sort of shouted bureaucracy, medical health bureaucrats and those sorts of things. So I think that's a natural progression. But there was certainly, there is frustration in the crowd, and there are a lot of people there that probably didn't vote Liberal and never have, people that have supported One Nation and others, I don't know. So there was clearly a lot of frustration about that. And I think that'll dissipate over time. Ultimately, the natural home for Conservatives is the Liberal Party, in my view. It's a party of government. It's the party where members can get the opportunity to actually have an opportunity to form policy that goes to Parliament with some hope of getting passed. So the key to Conservatism here, I think, is getting re-engaged in the major party of Conservative politics, the Liberal Party, and I think the temperature will calm a bit. There's a whole lot of people. By the way, there are still many private businesses out there that are still doing some of the stuff that, that governments were doing a year ago, businesses that are still mandating injections and so forth. There's still a long way to go to get people to understand that path was a trivial and frivolous one, I think.